This is the second Holociao composite leather indoor-outdoor basketball. I'm Tony. Welcome back to Streetball Strategies.
Dealing with the wrong one this time. Don't come for mine. Went the wrong way. Now it's the wrong way. Yeah.
This is Holociao's second entry into the world of basketballs. The good people over at Holociao were gracious enough to send me both balls for free, but of course I'm going to continue to keep it real with you guys. So their first basketball, that pumpkin basketball, was more of a rubber feeling basketball. It was a composite leather basketball. It was made out of composite leather, but the cover on it, despite being composite leather, did have a rubbery feel to it. Holociao didn't know that, but that's kind of my favorite basketball. A ball that has the body, the build, the construction of composite leather, but then the covering on the ball has a rubbery feeling to it. But with this basketball, Holociao is obviously taking a step away from that rubber basketball feeling and smartly taking a step in the direction of the composite basketball smoothness feeling. So let's compare the two balls in this video. Like I said, this ball is much more of a composite leather feeling basketball. So when we talk about the material of the ball, it's clear that this ball is meant to be a composite leather basketball. The covering on this basketball is noticeably smoother than that original Holociao pumpkin basketball. That pumpkin ball had a little bit more of a sticky, tacky, rubbery feeling to the covering of this ball, whereas this is a classic composite leather feeling basketball. It's nice and smooth. It feels very good in your hands. If you like that typical smoothness of a composite leather basketball, that's exactly what you get with this ball. And the pebbling is very characteristic of a composite leather basketball. It's nice and flat. So a flat pebbling means a smoother feel and grip on a basketball. When you're going composite leather direction, that's what you want for your pebbling. So for the overall grip and feeling of the basketball, you do get that very classic composite leather feeling when it comes to grip of this basketball. However, there is kind of a contrast, kind of a mystery in terms of the feeling of the basketball. So typically, composite leather basketballs have a kind of cushion to them. So when you get your fingertips on the ball and you squeeze with your fingertips, you can feel a little bit of a cushion there in your fingertips. You get a little bit of a squeeze into the basketball. With the original pumpkin Holociao ball, you did get that squeeze and that cushion in that basketball, even though it was more of a rubber feeling basketball. The curious thing about this ball is it's more firm than that rubber pumpkin basketball. So there's less of a squeeze, there's less of a cushion when you're using your fingertips to try to get a grip on the ball just with your fingertips. This ball is harder, it has less of a cushion in it than that pumpkin basketball. Composite leather basketballs, because they're smoother, right, and they have less grippy, tacky feeling to them, one of the ways players use to get more control and more grip of that ball is to use their fingertips and get that nice cushiony grip on the basketball when it's made of composite leather. On this basketball, because you have less of that cushion, of less squeeze on that basketball, that makes the overall grip, feel, and texture of this basketball it feels like hard, right? It feels like you would expect from a typical rubber basketball in terms of hardness. Rubber basketballs are usually more firm because they don't need to be soft and squishy because they have that tacky, rubbery covering on it. Because this ball is more firm and less cushiony than a typical composite leather basketball, if you're looking for a very smooth kind of basketball that's still nice and hard when you are gripping it, this is the exact kind of basketball you should get. But if you're looking for a smooth, firm kind of basketball, this ball is directly in your alley and you should definitely check it out. The grip channels on this basketball are even better than on the pumpkin basketball. In terms of width, they're about the same, but in terms of depth, they are definitely a little bit deeper. They're a little bit more pronounced, which I like. However, there is an issue, which is, while I think it's cool that you have a black basketball and the seams, the grip channels and the seams within the grip channels are a different color than the black basketball, I appreciate that. I think aesthetically that's very nice. However, because you had to paint the seams a different color, that gives a little bit of slipperiness to the seam that you usually wouldn't have. Usually the seams within the grip channels are just plain rubber, and so if you happen to get your fingertips on those seams within the grip channels, you usually get a nice firm grip on your fingertips because it's just plain old rubber. With this basketball, because you painted the seams inside the grip channels, now the grip channels are a little slippery, which I'm not used to. I don't think most players are used to. Especially here at the corners, where there's a lot more paint and a lot less pebbling. You really can feel how smooth this is, and not in a positive way. You lose gription inside of these grip channels on these seams because of this paint. It's not a deal breaker. You still get some control, but it's definitely a departure from what you're used to in terms of just straight up rubber. There is a smoothness there that you're not used to. You could probably get used to it over time, but it does take away from the experience slightly. However, keep in mind, it seems to me, my assumption is that Holociao is going for smoothness and overall feel with this basketball, whereas the original pumpkin basketball, because it had that rubbery feeling to it, that was more of a precision basketball because of that rubber cover on it, whereas this is a more of a luxurious, smooth basketball. So the grip channels and the seams within the grip channels are no exception. There's a smoothness to them. If that's what you like, that's what you get with this ball, you should give it a try. As far as perceived durability, so my standard for durability is like 2 years, right? What I mean by 2 years is at the end of that second year, I would say you should still have somewhere around at least the 80% mark of, you still have 80% of the grip, you still have 80% of the performance that you did when the ball was brand new. Now with a lot of basketballs, that's not going to be the case, because you're going to use the ball so often that you're going to degrade it so fast that by the end of the second year, if you even make it that far, you're going to be well below that 80% mark. And for me, once you get below 80% when in terms of grip and performance, that's when you start to get murky, because you really need to be able to control your basketball so it does what you want it to do. Once you drop below that 80% mark, for me, now you're getting into murky territory where you're losing control, you're losing performance, and to me that's kind of unacceptable. So ideally, you would lose about 10% each year of, you know, grip and performance out of your basketball. So after year one, you'd be down to like 90% of grip and performance, and then year two, you'd be around the 80-75% range in terms of grip and performance, and then you would replace the basketball. That's my personal standard, and usually I find with rubber basketballs, I can usually meet that standard pretty well because I get good grip over a 2-year period with rubber. The more composite the ball is, the more smoother the feel, the grip of the basketball is when it's new. To me, I lose that grip, that control, and thus that performance quicker with composite leather basketballs than I do with rubber basketballs. So with any basketball, I say you should get at least 1 good year out of that good quality basketball, unless it was like a budget basketball that you bought for the purpose of being budget, knowing full well that you're probably not going to get that full year out of it. But you should at least get 1 good season of use out of any basketball. What's even better news is that their original pumpkin basketball is now $20 in October of 2022. If you ask me, that's smart of Holociao. That's kind of setting the standard that that original pumpkin basketball, that's an entry-level rubber basketball, and if you want to step it up to the next level in terms of taking the build quality, the construction, the material up to composite leather. But even at that $27, that is dollars more affordable than the typical average price for a composite leather basketball. In my area, the typical price for a good quality composite leather basketball is $30, somewhere in the lower $30 range. So to be able to get this quality of a composite leather feeling basketball for $27 is a good deal. It's a good price, it's a good value, and even if the ball only lasts you a year, at $27, I would say that's definitely worth paying that price. When you find the kind of basketball that kind of exactly applies to what you prefer in handling a basketball, when you find that ball, you should spend the money to get that ball, because that's going to favor your game the most. So if that's the kind of basketball you're looking for, this is the kind of basketball you should get. Give it a try, buy it, see how it works for you. If that kind of firm, smooth basketball is what you like, that's exactly what you get with this basketball. That is the second Holociao composite leather indoor-outdoor basketball. I think Holociao is making great progress here. I like the direction of going in the composite leather direction, even though that's not my personal favorite style of basketball. I like that they have a rubber feeling basketball. It's a good entry-level price right now, and then if you want to step it up and go in the more kind of professional direction, you can get this composite leather basketball. So that's good, that's smart to have a basketball kind of in each category. A rubber feeling one and a composite leather one. That's smart, and I think that's good progress for Holociao. Because this is a smaller basketball company, you could say an off-brand basketball company, I favor balls and equipment and gear like this that is lesser known than the big brand companies, because when you, and I have a video about this, you can check it out. I don't remember the the name of it or exactly where to find it, but I'll link it right here. When you use the big brand names for your basketball or your gear or your shoes, whatever it may be, you're setting a standard for yourself that says, because I have this big well-known brand company that costs a stupid amount of money, because I have that, the message you're sending to other players on the court is that because you have that expensive, well-known stuff, that you should be a very good basketball player because you have the big brand, expensive stuff. And when you're doing that, you're painting yourself into a corner, which is like, if you play anything less than great, then that's gonna hurt your reputation out here at the park, because the standard is you have the best, biggest, most expensive, well-known stuff. So therefore you should play the best basketball out here because of having that stuff. But when you have off-brand, lower brand, less known brand stuff, now you're setting the standard where like you can play decent basketball and that's expected of you, and anything you play above that in terms of quality, now you can only help your reputation when you do that. Also, Holociao is setting themselves apart because what other basketball looks like this? Especially what other quality basketball looks like this? Like I had that and one basketball that was blue and it was crazy looking and it definitely stood out, but it didn't have good quality, it didn't have good performance. It was a very baseline beginner kind of basketball. Whereas this is a good quality basketball and it sticks out in a positive way because no other ball looks like this. When you have lower brand, smaller brand, less known stuff, and then you show out with that stuff and that stuff is good quality like this ball, that's kind of the best scenario for getting attention out here on the court, and that attention is going to get you opportunity to play. That playing opportunity over time is going to lead to you building your reputation out here at the park. See why I love this? See how that all comes together? I just love all this stuff, man. I'm so glad that I'm able to make this kind of content for you guys, and even within a basketball review, put out that kind of, ideas that you don't find in other YouTube videos about basketball, anywhere on YouTube, anywhere on the internet. So I want to thank you guys for watching because of that. If you like this video, if you think it's going to help you decide whether or not to give Holociao a shot, which you should, then please subscribe to the channel. Also, make sure you hit that thanks button. When you hit that thanks button, you get like cool custom comments that stand out from other comments in the comment section, and it directly supports this channel. And when you do that, I completely appreciate it. As always, like, share, comment, hit that notification bell so you're notified whenever any of my videos go live. And until then, I'll see you guys next week. You should give this ball a shot.
Booyah. There's not enough room for the both of us. Look, if you ever calling me, call me number one. Oops, I did it again, about to double up. Look, up here.